Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. By the time you're seeing this, listening to this, it's probably early January 2020, unless you're super late to the JEB in Flow party. Who knows? Maybe it's 5 years down the road. But Happy New Year. What an exciting time to be alive. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up with street parking in the next month, few months, year. So everybody around here is super excited, which is great. It's fun energy to be around. So before we get into it for this week, I want to remind you guys and perhaps explain a little better about the JEB in Flow hotline. The number is 360-524-3313. So it is a phone number that you can call, you can text. I am not going to answer it. Nobody's going to answer it. So you can leave a voicemail. And if you don't want it to be played out loud on here, then just say, don't play this out loud. If you don't want me to use your name, tell me you don't want me to use your name or don't say your name. But I definitely would love to hear from you. And I've gotten already a lot of really cool, very interesting ideas from folks. And it's really helped sort of inform the direction that I'm going to go with the podcast in 2020, which is great because I'm doing this not just to sit here and do it, although I love doing it, but I'm doing this for you. And so I want to give you what it is that you want, that you need. And hopefully there's some sort of crossover between those two things. So hit the hotline, 360-524-3313. Maybe we can get the number to show up somewhere down here. But if not to worry, we'll put it in the show notes so that you can call it anytime. Also, if you're watching this, you might have noticed this super dope new sign behind me. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to post a picture of it on Instagram at JebStone because it's super cool. It's beautiful. And it really just takes things to the next level, man. It's so cool. So it was great to walk into the office this morning and see that sign. It was the first thing I saw when I walked in, which was great and very fitting for what it is that I want to talk about today. And I feel the need to talk about it because of the date that it is. And actually, I'm a day early in recording this, so let's take it back. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit more backstory on me and why I have the approach that I do to fitness and mindset and life in general. So tomorrow, if everything goes well today, tomorrow will be 12 years of sobriety for me. I got sober January 4th, 2008. Never in my wildest dreams back in 2008 did I think that someday, 12 years down the road, I would still be sober and I would be living a life beyond my wildest dreams. To try to wrap my head around that at that time would have been impossible. So how I got from there to here, as cliche as it sounds, is I took things one day at a time. But it's also a little more complicated than that, and perhaps in some ways a little bit more simple. So this is not going to be a podcast where I just tell you my whole story of what I was like and what a selfish and destructive person I was. I do have a lot of war stories that, in retrospect, I can laugh at. and they're pretty funny. Some are very sad. But this isn't about that. This is just to kind of put into context and hopefully relate some of what I've learned in the process of getting and staying sober to how we can live a better life and improve our fitness, improve our overall health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, all of that good stuff. So I'll just take a couple of minutes to kind of qualify, and then we will move on. So basically, I obviously had to stop drinking and using drugs because they were a problem. They were a big problem. Once I started, could not stop. And for folks that don't have addiction issues or this phenomenon of craving, that's a very hard thing for them to understand. A lot of folks think it's just a matter of willpower. Well, I had enough willpower to do some very, very dangerous and perhaps sometimes illegal, hurtful, selfish, destructive things just to get more. Just to get more of whatever it was that I felt like I wanted and needed at the time. I went to great lengths to be able to get more, to feed and to serve my addiction. I, walked miles, as silly as it sounds, walked miles through the snow wearing like a long sleeve shirt in the middle of the night, 3 a.m, just to go get more. I've jumped out of windows. I've wrecked cars. I've done a lot of stupid things. And it was all because I had this end goal of going to get more. There was nothing that was going to stop me from getting more. So when it comes to willpower, I got willpower. There was something that was needed beyond just willpower to be able to stop my destructive behaviors, stop my destructive way of thinking, and turn things around. So I got sober through a 12-step program. And that's what worked for me. It's what continues to work for me. I went to my first meeting when I was 17 years old. I had some periods of sobriety after that, but I didn't actually get sober till I was 27. So for 10 years, I was kind of trying here and there, and sometimes it would work for a few months and then I would fall off. And I would occasionally maybe go to a meeting, occasionally maybe read a book, the book, or some literature, or maybe talk to somebody. And then the cycle would just sort of repeat. And I got to where I could, towards the end of college, not use or drink during the quarter. I was at UCSD, we were on a quarter system. And I'd be fine. And I'd get really good grades. And then as soon as I took my finals, even though I told myself hey, everything's going good, I'm not going to drink. It was like I was sleepwalking. There's a lot of instances where I feel like I was out of body, like I was sleepwalking or looking at myself from a third person perspective and watching myself get up and go over and fix myself a drink and start the party. And then from sleepwalking, it was kind of like time traveling, because 1 minute it would be nighttime and I'd be on my first drink, surrounded by people that I knew. And then all of a sudden, it was daytime. Not sure which day, but it was daytime. I was in a different place, not always totally certain of where that place was. Surrounded by not always people that I knew or recognized. It was like time traveling from one place in time to another. And apparently, they haven't quite perfected time travel yet, because every time I would time travel, I would notice that my clothes were torn and my knuckles were bleeding and I was in pain. I don't know how that happened or what happened, but that happened more times than I wish to remember. I mean, if it happens one time, that's like pretty scary. If it was like a fairly regular occurrence, it's a problem. So anyways, January 4th, 2008, I got started after a period of a few months of sobriety, of working really hard and studying really hard and trying to save my money and trying to go to the gym and trying to get up at a certain time and trying to have really, really lots of structure and trying to make everything in my world fit that structure and all the people in my world fit that structure. And when they didn't fit that structure, it made me insane. It made me angry. I was not a happy person. I wasn't a pleasant person. I wasn't a confident person. I didn't know how to stand up for myself and I internalized everything. So of course, after a few months, that's all just going to erupt because I didn't know how to deal with anything. I didn't know how to deal with what was going on in here, inside. So I'll never forget, man, it was December 30th, 2007. And I was supposed to, the next morning, go meet the girl that I was seeing at the time to take her to go buy a new car on the last day of the year because the cars were like on sale. And I was supposed to take her to go get a car. And I was watching, I'm pretty sure it was a Mayweather fight. And my friends were drinking a bottle of J&B. And sober, don't know what happened, got up off the couch, went over, fixed myself a drink. Then the bottle was gone. Then I started looking around for other bottles in my friend's house. And I called this girl and I was like, hey, I'm not coming tomorrow. And so from December 30th to January 3rd, it was off to the races. And there's little snapshots, you know, walking down the center lane of a highway, not a highway, but like a busy street, cars coming in opposite directions, getting yelled at by lots of people. That same girl that I was dating that I didn't take to go get the new car definitely punched me in the face. I don't condone violence, but I'm pretty sure deserved it. And didn't show up for work, had to leave work, because I was just not in any kind of shape to be at work. And I was a waiter, like fairly easy job, but you know, I was just a mess. And then I didn't show up the next day for work. And on January 4th, 2008, I woke up and I just couldn't do it anymore. I had ridden that merry-go-round over and over and over and over again. And some people like to think of it as a roller coaster because there was a lot of highs and lows and you're careening around and it feels out of control. But in the bigger picture, it's just a merry-go-round. I was just going around and around and around. So for me, it wasn't like I hit this horrible, horrible bottom where I was homeless or in prison or anything like that. Although there were times where I did not have a home. That was years before. That wasn't like my bottom. For me, what my bottom was, for me, what finally made me decide to try something different was just being sick and tired of doing the same thing over and over and over again, and thinking that maybe somehow it would just change if I wanted it to change, but not actually willing to get uncomfortable, to be uncomfortable, to stay uncomfortable, and to look around in that discomfort and figure out what the hell is going on and how can I take one step at a time to get myself out of this. So that was January 4th, 2008. Luckily, I had a really good friend that was sober at the time, and he took me to a group of other men. And for the first time, I stood up. I introduced myself as a newcomer. And I said, I need help. And I had never done that before. I had never truly conceded, truly admitted that I need help, that I cannot do this by myself. So that is what I want to unpack a little bit and talk about for today, because we live in a time where we get bombarded with all these messages and pictures and videos, social media and that kind of thing that shows these picture perfect lives, or these people that like, hey, I did all of this. I used to be down here and now I'm over here, and I did it with this simple, system, and I did it on my own. And they leave out some really important things. And the two important things are action and community, being a part of something greater. So in the kind of recovery world around this time, early January, they refer to it as the annual membership drive, because usually there's just a ton of people that decide that they got to quit what they're doing around New Year's. Like, enough, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to quit. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm one of the lucky ones that has managed to get 12 years without a drink or a drug. And it's a low percentage of people that get there. But of the people that do the things that I did, that percentage is much, much higher. So it's a question of willingness. It's a question of humility. It's a question of being able to get outside or out from under your own ego and intellectual pride and listen to maybe some of the suggestions that other people are giving you and to do the work. So for right now, I think, there's this parallel, because there's all the people that want to quit and give up things around New Year's. And then in the health and fitness world, there's a lot of people that I'm going to start the diet in January. I'm going to quit sugar in January. I'm going to start going back to the gym in January. And their motivation is high, and there's a lot of other people around them kind of trying to do the same thing. It's mid-February, maybe it starts to fizzle out a little bit. By March, most of those people have lost the momentum, have lost the drive, have lost the motivation. And motivation is fleeting. It's not something that sticks around. So there has to be something else. But around this time is when a lot of people make a decision. And when you make a decision, that is really the first thing that you have to do. Make a decision. And when you make a decision, if you really think about the word decision, I'm pretty sure it's Latin, but it comes from, basically you've got D and you've got scission, right? Scission means to cut, and D means off. So when you make a decision, it means to cut off. If you think about a bush, or like I always think about the bonsai tree, Karate Kid, you know, Mr. Miyagi, he's trimming the bonsai tree. The way for that thing to flourish and to grow, and well, they don't grow that much, but but for the way for any bush, or maybe it's a little bonsai tree, for it to become something beautiful, it has to be pruned. You have to look at it, and you have to make decisions. You have to cut off certain little things, certain little branches and twigs and leaves, so that the other parts can be stronger, so the other parts can grow, so the other parts can get the water and the sun and the nutrients. You have to make decisions. If we go through life and we don't ever make any decisions, we get overwhelmed by stress and confusion and anxiety, and then complacency, because we're just sitting there not doing anything, not going anywhere. So we have to make decisions. And decisions that are intentional, that are deliberate, that are actually thoughtful. It's one thing to be like, oh man, I'm not feeling very good health-wise, so I should probably maybe think about trying to eat a little bit healthier. Like, that's not a decision. That's a contemplation of perhaps maybe one day considering making a decision, maybe. So, a clear, thought out decision. And once you make that decision, then what? Nothing happens. All you did was make a decision. If your car is broken down, let's say you got a real sick car. It's a rare car. You know, it's like some kind of import. You can't just take it to the regular mechanic. There's very few people that understand this car, that know how to work on this car. But you hear, hey, in the next town over, there's this guy, and he's a specialist, and he can fix your car. You got to take it to him. And you say, okay, I'm going to take my car into that guy. Is your car fixed? No, your car's still broken. You just decided that you're going to go take your car in, but you didn't actually do anything. So after we make the decision to get healthy and to get right, it has to be backed by action. And it has to be backed by a lot of action. And it has to be backed by the right kind of action. So how do we figure out what is the right kind of action? And how do we continue that action? Because once the action stops, things start to go back the other way. Once you stop eating the right way, once you stop going to the gym, you don't just stay healthy and fit. Everything starts to regress. It starts to go back the other way. Your body kind of wants to do as little as possible, and it wants to be where it's comfortable. So if you've spent a few years in one certain level of health and one certain state, and you take 2 months to work out and eat right and get up early and do all these things, and then you stop, well, 2 months, that's nothing. It can't compare to the previous few years that your body was so comfortable in. Your body wants to go back there. So you got to keep going. You got to keep making that decision over and over again. Or another way to think about it is you've made the decision. You just got to hold to that decision through continuous action. And for me, in sobriety, I kind of had those first two things. I had a lot of experience with those things. Obviously, not a lot of success for a decade, but I had a lot of experience with making a decision and then backing it up with some action. And then when it got real uncomfortable, I stopped. I quit quitting. And the action that I took was all external. In other words, I thought that I could fix the problem if I worked out a lot. And if I tried to eat a little more healthy. And if I stayed really busy. I figured if I was so busy with jobs and school and music and as many things that I could occupy myself with, that I wouldn't have time to mess up. But I took zero action trying to work on the internal things. And everything starts from inside, and then it works its way out. You can't control the external. To a degree, maybe you can, but to a large degree, you can't. And as we've talked previously about like the witness consciousness and that sort of thing, there's a lot of stuff internally that you can't control. You got to be able to recognize the difference between what you can and what you cannot control. So if we are going to be successful with a health and fitness program that we're getting started with in the new year or that we're continuing with in the new year, the only way that success is going to be maintained is through continuous action, and that continuous action has to be rooted in the right mindset, in the right approach. If we are just focused on, oh, I have to lose 20 pounds. I'm not going to be happy until I lose 20 pounds. Well, then you're just basically guaranteeing and making a deal with yourself that you're going to be unhappy. Until the scale, until some number shows up on this weird machine that you step on, that is the number that you agreed should be the one that's going to make you happy. And then guess what? I guarantee you, when that happens and you get on that scale and you see the number that you want to see, you're going to have a moment of joy. And then your mind is going to say, something else is wrong. We got to fix this other thing. You're not enough. We got to do something else. Rather than taking a look at, well, why do you want to lose the 20 pounds? What is it going to mean when you lose the 20 pounds? If we keep asking that question, as I've mentioned before, eventually it's going to boil down to, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to feel fulfilled or content or like something is enough. Well, you can feel that way right now. And if you feel that way right now, guess what? You're going to do good things for yourself. You're going to go out there and you're going to get in your workout and you're going to make a better food choice afterwards. And you're going to go to sleep rather than stay up watching TV. If you're happy in the moment, if you're happy with being where you are, and even if you're not satisfied with where you are right now, you can find something. You can find something that you can frame in a way that gives you some satisfaction, some element of positivity. And when you feel good, you make better decisions for yourself. So rather than delaying your happiness and saying, I'm not going to be happy until this happens, take a look at what's going on with you right now. Notice when you feel joy in the day, throughout the week. Take some time to feel that joy, to feel that contentedness. You can take the most mundane task and you can find joy in it. And when you do that over and over and over again, that is the action. That is the continuous action. That is the action that starts to change things internally, and eventually they project outward towards the external. A good example of this is in movement. We use core to extremity movement. Like if your core is not braced and turned on and activated and you go try and pick up something really heavy, you could throw your back out. You first have to plant your feet. You first have to take a breath. You first have to engage your abs. You have to get everything nice and tight and prepped and ready to go in the center of your body. And then you start to activate your legs and your arms. And then you start to apply force against something outside of your body, like the ground. And you push against that thing, and then you create movement, and then you create big action. So it's the same type of deal. The last thing is asking for help. We have this thing that called the ego. We have this thing that tells us that we don't need anyone else, that we are really, really smart, and we should be able to do this on our own, and we should not be weak or show weakness or be vulnerable. We should not ask for help from anyone else. And it's a recipe for disaster, especially if you happen to be in a community with some 19,000 people that are not only striving and working towards the same things that you are, but they're really good people and they're really excited to help. They're really excited to show you what has worked for them. All you got to do is ask. And there's actually a lot of strength in being able to do that. It's the opposite of weakness. So this week, I want you to find an opportunity to ask for help. Notice when you are making decisions. Pay attention to the action that follows those decisions. How long that action is sustained for. And how that action might be affected if you actually get someone else involved. And the reason why so many people, I think, in this community are willing and excited to help you is because that's how you get it. You get the strength by giving it away. You get the fitness by giving it away. Fitness in the larger sense of the word. So being of service to other people makes you happy. Help the members of this community be happy by allowing them to be of service to you. So this week, go out there, have a really kick-ass start to 2020. Know that you do not have to do this whole fitness journey and this health journey alone, that there are people here that want to help you. And ask for help. Ask somebody for help. And bonus point, help someone else. I hope you guys have a really great week. I love you. I will talk to you soon.